Welcome back to Range Minded. Hey, what's happening? This is Steve. On the other end of the internets, we have Nick Hoffer there playing with some kind of a poker chip over there. What's happening, Nick?
It's a ball marker for golf. Somebody gave it to me on the golf course a few weeks ago.
It really looked like a poker chip. I thought it was.
It is a poker chip.
But it's a ball marker.
Yeah, it says Lakeview Golf Course.
Oh, that's where all the cool people play.
Welcome to everybody to our new golf podcast.
And how to mark your balls.
Yeah. which leads us right into what Steve wanted to talk about, which was this scorching weather that we're having and being outside. Steve, you're a little red.
Yeah, which if everybody could see that, so I have the American flag behind me, and maybe it's picking up some of the stripes. No, it's actually my entire noggin is completely fried. So I was, over the weekend, for some silly reason, I decided to build a pergola on my deck. My deck, I said. So, and yeah, it was all day, from 8 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. And
it must be nice to have wood connections.
Well, that's how I flex over here on this side of the state.
So everyone who follows me on Instagram saw me getting paid in bullets the other day from Nick over at Full Throttle Arsenal. What do I got to do to trade ammo for 2x4s?
Hey, I've actually got some. I might have to swing by and just slide some over you after dark.
It's bad. When I was driving down the road the other day, I saw a Dodge pickup had like 100 sheets of OSB in the back, and I was like, man, that's an expensive load. He should have secured that better.
Well, this is not a construction or a golf podcast, but not too long ago on a job site that we have a house going up, and somebody took 20 sheets of 7/16 OSB from our job site. 20 sheets.
That's not surprising, but that's a feat. Like, what did they put 20 sheets in?
Not a Geo Metro, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. And then I ended up returning some leftover. So I had to go buy 2 new bunks because they were sheeting the roof at the time. And when I took back the leftovers, I had like 32 sheets left. It was $1,600. Man,
holy crap.
Can you believe that? It's over $50 a sheet right now.
So just to finish up our non-gun talk, I, for the first time this last weekend, made it over to your neck of the woods. And I was kind of impressed. I kind of like it over there.
It's pretty over here.
It's pretty, but the people in the feel kind of feels like Utah more than Idaho for me. But at the same time, you get like that more high desert lava rock over there that you don't see on this side of the state.
No, well, it's all covered up over there. It's older. You get over here, and where you were, it is nice down there. Like, I don't know how hot it was for you over the weekend. But you get up towards Island Park or even into Jackson Hole or West Yellowstone, dude, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty nice. You need to spend more time over here.
No, it was neat. I actually said when I was over there, I was like, man, I want to make a trip over here just to kind of check things out. We were at Lava Hot Springs. I went there for a wedding. So that in itself was an experience because I'd never been there.
Yeah.
And when I said I was going there, I didn't realize that it was a 4.5 hour drive from where I live. So I had to leave at 4:00 in the morning to get there in time.
You should have gone the night before.
Well, it's hard to find a place to stay anymore. Hotels are 4 times the price and booked until 2023.
Yeah, and we were talking about this off air. It's ridiculous. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's crazy the hotel rates and how booked they are. But yeah, when I was at Lava, I've never been there before, and it was like I was at like a resort town.
Yeah.
In the middle of, the edge of Idaho, but like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I thought there was just going to be some hot springs. They got like Olympic diving platforms and
it's an Olympic sized pool.
Apparently, I made a joke when we were setting up for the wedding. I was like, man, I want to float that. I can float that river. I should have brought a tube. And I walked into town, and there's like 40 places that rent tubes. And then all of a sudden, there was like 2,000 people running around with tubes. That town went from 400 people to 2,000 people in about an hour on a Saturday.
Absolutely. And the Portneuf River, which flows through there, it never freezes over. It's because of the hot springs, and so
Yeah, because as you float down, there's multiple spots where hot water is flowing
yeah,
into the river.
yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
It's pretty
That's
cool. So to get back to the guns, it's the first wedding that I've been in that I wore. All of us groomsmen and the groom all had guns on.
well, that's rad.
Yeah, conceal carry wedding.
Now, was the bride's dad carrying a shotgun?
No, but that would have been fun. I don't think anybody in the wedding knew that we were carrying our guns. We just kind of made that decision when we were getting ready.
This,
I looked at Tristan. Tristan used to work for me. Actually, some people listening probably remember him. He used to work in the shop, and he worked with me at Tactical Solutions when he was a teenager. And it
back in
was
the
funny.
day.
I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he just called me up, and he was like, "Hey, I'm getting married. Would you mind being in my wedding?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." Didn't hear from him for a while, so I called him a couple weeks ago. I was like, "Hey, dude, isn't your wedding coming up? You didn't send me an invitation." Well, I got there and I was the best man.
You didn't even know?
No, I came up. I had to write a speech and everything.
That's funny. I don't know why that's funny, but that's funny. At least you were carrying a gun, though.
Yeah, so we all carried our pistols in Hoftac holsters in his wedding. It's kind of fun.
That's fitting. That's awesome.
So, but it was hot. It was hot and it was sweaty and like there was no get that was in the park and my gun was irritating me because I had it under my undershirt so it wouldn't show.
It was
Like,
against your body then.
yeah, it was against my skin, which I don't recommend when it's 97 degrees outside. Like,
So were you like in a suit or were you in like jeans and a vest? Like what?
So it's funny. So I've been in 2 weddings in the last 3 weeks, right? So that's why I was in Salt Lake in Memorial Day. I had on a tuxedo in that one or suit or whatever you call it. It was uncomfortable. It was weird. And this one was Wranglers and a white button-up shirt with suspenders and a bow tie.
Nice.
What was really funny was he handed me the pants and I was wearing the same exact pants that he handed me. They were just these ones were brand new. So yeah, it was.
So as you're, because this actually could be good information for our listeners. So as you're down hot, because it was probably upper 80s.
Upper 80s in that park. It was like 90.
Was it?
Yeah, it was hot there.
So you're here. You are with a shirt tucked in, right? I'm guessing.
Yep.
In your jeans, and your gun on. So what were some of the experiences of having that gun up against you that entire time?
Well, I carry a gun all the time, right? So
right.
It's not a huge deal for me, but I did make a post the other day that traditionally and almost all the time I carry a Glock 19 pistol, so a compact Glock 9mm pistol, and I've carried that forever. And the last couple days leading up to this, I'd been wearing my XDS 45.
Wow.
Because I wanted to wear a smaller gun because it's getting hot out and I'm going to be wearing shorts and whatnot. Well, the first day that I put on the XDS, man, just going from my apartment to work, I was like, forget this. This is uncomfortable. I'm going home, getting my other gun. And that's going from a larger gun to a smaller gun.
Yeah.
So I had that live that you missed the other day was me talking about like how you can go from a big gun to a smaller gun and actually be more uncomfortable because your body has like the touch points on my body are already used to the larger. You're
used to gun. That 19, yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to the way that it sits on my body and I just forget it's there. I put on the XDS, it's actually heavier and it rides lower on my belt and it rides higher on my thigh. So the parts of my body that it was sitting against weren't used to the edges of the holster touching it, and so it was uncomfortable because I don't do it. But I'll do it over the next month or so, and it'll be just fine. But so that's the gun that I carried in the wedding was the XDS because I knew it was going to print a little bit less, and I had a tucked in shirt. I had an undershirt, but I wanted to tuck my undershirt in front of it to kind of eat up some of the printing.
Sure.
And kind of break it up because we had on suspenders too, so it kind of sat right over the front of where the gun was. So I was just making sure no one really noticed, which wouldn't have been a big deal. I mean, it was a kind of a cowboy style wedding. We wore Wranglers and cowboy boots and whatnot. I don't know why I couldn't wear my cowboy hat. It would have saved my sunburn.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was interesting having the actual holster up against my skin, which I usually don't. I usually have it on my undershirt. Uh, I got a little bit of irritation and sweat, but
So so carrying that way up against your body, did it make you think, oh, I need to make this change or that change? Or did it make you think of any kind of a of change in design?
um, not really changing design, but it did really make me be thankful for well buffed edges on the back of the holster.
Oh yeah.
I did think about that, as well as, so I've been doing like some videos on Instagram kind of talking about like the different carry dilemmas, and I'm kind of putting together a series as I do that. And so I'm always now the last couple months like self aware of what can I talk about, and even on this show, like what can we talk about? And
Mm-hmm.
this being something that you kind of pulled out of me, like, yeah, what is what is something that I'm thankful for about the concealed carry holsters is definitely like rounded edges, uh, low sweat guards. Like the high sweat guards you always think would be better, but I like a mid height sweat guard that's below the rear sight, just because if it gets above the rear sight, then it gives, like, when I lean forward, I've gained some
Jabs, yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gained some weight now, so when I lean forward, like my stomach will go like in between the gun and the holster,
Oh,
which is kind of weird. But so if it's a little bit lower than the actual slide, it seems to be more comfortable. And people always say, well, you get sweat against the slide, then it's going to rust. And I'm like, you have that plastic holster all the way up, that your sweat is going to run down the top of it, and it's going to
yeah. It's
rust
not like
right
there's
down
any
into it.
ambient
Yeah.
body sweat that's leaving your body as you cool off.
So that's a I think that's kind of a myth there. Like as long as I mean, you gotta take your gun out of the holster once in a while and wipe it down. I
Yeah.
mean, that's, speaking of, wow, I'm on like squirrel mode 2.0. While I was getting ready in the room and we were talking about wearing our guns, Tristan's dad, who is a big fan of mine, I didn't know this. When we first pulled up, he was talking to me about some Facebook posts that I made. And I've only met this guy like once or twice years ago. And he's talking about Facebook posts that I made. And Tristan's telling me, yeah, we have uh, the Amazon Prime like photos running in a, like, what is not a TV, but one of those picture frames that
Yeah.
shows the photos. And he goes, it's hooked to my dad's Amazon Prime, and every day we see screenshotted photos of Nick Hoffer's Facebook posts.
You have a stalker now too. That's kind of
I
weird.
was, I was like, that's cool. At least somebody's reading my posts. So
all those engagements are just from him.
yeah. So anyways, he was saying that he had put his gun in the holster and put it in a bag, and it had gotten left in his truck. Well, he had been sick or something, and his truck stayed in the garage for like a year last year. He never, during COVID, and he said it was rusted when he pulled it out. And he's like, "Have you ever heard of that?" And I said, "Well, Kydex holsters don't stop rusting.
Yeah.
Like if there's moisture, especially in a bag."
Was it a Ziploc bag or was it like a gun
I
bag?
think it was a plastic bag.
Whoa.
Yeah, which I think that would make it worse,
Yeah, I would think so.
because heat and any type of moisture inside of there is just gonna stay. It can't escape, go anywhere. The only place it can go is in that metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a gun because I'm an idiot. I left a gun in my truck for too long, and it absolutely pitted that slide. Absolutely pitted it. So that was one of my first handguns too. So I was a little frustrated. I've grown up a little bit and got a little wiser since then. But yeah, I ended up just enjoying the pitted, ugly slide until one time I took it into Jeff and we screwed around with Cerakote and sandblasted and cleaned it all up, and now it looks like a totally different gun. But
I need to re-Cerakote my Glock. It's ready.
it wears.
It's been like 5 years since, actually it might have been 6 years since I've had it Cerakoted, and it's got to have 10,000 times in and out of the holster. I mean, I take it out every single night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's people, and that's the other thing, man, another squirrel moment. People, we talk about buying used guns.
This is the episode of one generic direction with a bunch of side notes. Just so you know, guys, we're just kind of
we're just throwing shit out there and hoping it sticks to the wall.
I promise we will get back on track this week, and we will have guests. And structure going forward.
We have a guest coming up next week that I'm so stoked about. But that's not what I was going to say. We'll talk about that in a second.
Are you going to talk about that tonight, or are they going to have to wait to watch what I post tomorrow on Instagram? Because I'm doing a project for him.
Are you? I think we'll just kind of keep it on the anticipation side, and then they have to go to your Insta to look and find out, oh, that's who we're talking about. He's kind of a big deal. And we've dropped his name here before, but you're just going to have to wait and hear who it is. Anyway, so you talked about the finish wearing off of your gun. And I imagine you probably get a lot of people inquiring about, hey, why is this holster wearing this finish off my gun? Because it's not a unique problem. And I don't even care if it's a leather holster or a Kydex holster. It's going to happen. It's going to wear off.
It's one of the most common questions. It's in the frequently asked questions on my website. That's how common it is.
And I can't believe how much, because I've had customers freak out about their gun. And is your gun a stupid safe queen? Did you buy it just to look at it? Or did you buy it to use? We talked about taking your gun out to wipe it down periodically. Man, I've seen some of the dirtiest freaking life-saving devices in my life. And some of them are cops.
It might just be because I'm a holster maker, and that's like my niche is holsters, but I actually wash my gun holster in the sink periodically.
Oh, I've never done that. It's not a bad idea.
And I need to do it. I'm going to write this down because this is part of the videos that I've been working on. Like, it's not a bad idea. And I tell people this, like, if you want to save the finish on your gun, wipe your gun down for one, but two, clean out your holster, because I don't know if you've ever had a person in a class that's taken out their carry holster, and just like you said, the dirt, and they're dirty, but the holsters are full of clothing lint, they're full of dirt,
it's disgusting.
They're full of all kinds of stuff, because that gun doesn't necessarily come out all the time, but you put it on and off, on and off, on and off, right? So anything that's inside the trigger guard, anything that's in the ejection port that slid down because there's all those channels in the holster down the sight channel. And I'm not even saying it to be like, oh, that's so gross, like you guys are dirty people. No, like it just happens. It's like if you didn't vacuum out your truck, like the dirt comes in off your shoes. The dirt comes in off your shoes. You jump in, you jump out, you jump in, you jump out. You don't notice it until it adds up. And then you look down and you're like, holy shit, I need to go to the car wash. Like,
what? I remember hearing a story. This was when I was back here working the range in Isle Falls, of a cop, an on-duty officer, that never pulled out his duty gun, but he loved to eat Cheetos. And when he finally pulled out his gun, at least not to use, I don't remember it being an emergency situation, he had Cheeto dust all over in his holster, in the action of his handgun, like literally everywhere, because he would just sit in his patrol car and eat Cheetos.
I love Cheetos.
That is disgusting, though. Like, that's a life-saving device. That's like me, like, putting grease all over a fire extinguisher and putting it back in the cupboard. Like,
well, I'll tell you what. If I was a criminal, I sure as heck don't want to get shot with Chester Cheeto's gun.
It wouldn't work anyways. You could lick your fingers after the fact.
It's a Glock. It will work.
Well, it might have been a Smith & Wesson. I don't know.
You could bury that thing in Cheetos, pull it out 5 years later, and it still work.
And the Cheetos would taste the same.
they might have a little gunpowder on them. But yeah, I tell people when we're talking about maintenance, right? Maintenance to your gun, maintenance to your body, maintenance to your gear. You wash your clothes, you go to the range, you wash the pants that you wore, you wash the tactical camo shirt with all the patches and pockets on it because you don't want it to be not clean. When you get home, pop the holster off the belt, take the gun out, unload it, set it somewhere safe, put it in the safe, whatever. Put your gun or your holster in the sink, spray a little Dawn dish soap, scrub it down with the towel, rinse it off, let it sit on the counter and dry.
What if I put it in the dishwasher?
So you can put it in the dishwasher as long as you don't put it on the steam cycle.
So it doesn't deform?
It will deform in the steam cycle. Trust me, I've tested that.
Have you?
Yeah, because I wanted to put a dishwasher in at the shop to wash the holsters after we do it because we had to go across the parking lot to the bathroom to use the big wash sink.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just put it in a dishwasher. Well, I got one that had a steam cycle and tested it, and it melted them. So I got to find one that doesn't have the steam cycle.
Yeah, I wondered because I wouldn't be surprised if you had a customer complain and says, "I put this in my dishwasher and it melted. I need another one. Is it covered under warranty?"
I mean, I probably would try and fix it for them, but yeah, that's
a lot nicer. I'd tell him, hell no, don't put your. It's not a Tupperware.
I don't know. I had some guy trade in he bought a M&P Shield holster in OD green, which is not a standard offering. Came back 3 days later and wanted to exchange it for a Glock 43 because he didn't want to carry the Shield. He still owned the Shield, didn't want to carry it. I exchanged that, sold him the concealment wing because it was a 43X and he wanted it to conceal better. Built that for him, and then 2 weeks later he called me and asked if he could return it because he didn't like the way that it fit. And I was like, oh, is something wrong? Like, do we need to like modify it or what? No, I just don't like the way it fit. I got something else. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And in my head I'm like, do I let him return that? Like, it's nothing that we did wrong.
Yeah, like, so what did you do to the returned damaged product?
I mean, it wasn't damaged, but it's used now. It's not like I can sell it as new. He obviously used it for 2 weeks before he decided he didn't like it.
Got his ball sweat and Cheeto dust in it.
Yeah, which was weird to me because I don't know, like, I know some holster companies have like that 30-day test drive. If you don't like it, return it. But that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, if I buy a t-shirt, I can't return it.
Yeah.
If I buy a pair of shoes and I don't like the way they fit after I tested them at the store, like tried them on, I don't get to bring them back used. So it's weird to me. It's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's just weird to me that people do.
For
that.
me, like, I know for them it's like, well, we stand behind our product, but most of the time their stuff sucks anyway. So what are they doing with all that extra stuff?
Well, and I think it's because most of those companies are strictly online, right?
Yeah.
I have an in-person retail store, and this, like, the specific store I'm talking about, that was a person that came into the store, tried it, exchanged it for the other one, tried that one, and then came. And I'm not mad at him for it. I just personally, like, it was the first time that's ever happened, and I'm like, I guess we take it back.
Well, I think that's pretty good of you to be willing to do that, because I probably would have told the guy to pound sand. I'm not as nice, I guess. I don't know. I probably would have found a way to keep both parties happy, honestly, but it's just kind of weird.
Well, I almost felt like I was in the position where, like, I had to do it because other holster companies do it, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but they're not custom.
Well, true, and I didn't have the opportunity to get him something that he wanted from me. I couldn't just because he already bought from another holster company online. And it was a Kydex holster. So I'm like, I have other options, like with soft backing or with that are cut and sewn type stuff, but he had already bought something. So I just had to refund the money. And like, it sucks because at that point, the retailer, even if it's not me, at that point, the retailer refunds you the money, but they lose not only the sale, but I lost like $6 in transaction fees.
Yeah.
to do that because it was a credit card transaction. So at the end of the day, there was 3 times the work by changing out parts, exchanging 3 different transactions, and then you don't even get the customer anymore. So hopefully he comes back because
Yeah. That's crazy, dude. You're too kind. You're too kind. Anyway.
well, I make up for it by not returning phone calls when people call me to get custom orders because I'm so busy all over the place.
So you get screwed out of another sale. See?
Well, that's because I don't answer the phone because I'm in the shop working or I'm running around town and I can't talk on the phone while I'm driving because they're stupid new rules.
That's why you have headphones.
I know I need to get a new truck so that I can have Bluetooth.
Yeah, just buy a new truck. You're good.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
As soon as we're not having a new truck shortage, I might buy one.
Well, if it's anything like frozen fruit and hotel rooms, you're never getting a pickup.
Yeah, so to what Steve just said, he was telling me before we started the show, for 2 weeks, Walmart has been out of frozen fruit. Just a heads up for all of you guys listening.
Yeah, and that's why I asked it, like, are we living in communist China? Like, what the hell is going on? How come I can't get frozen fruit for my desserts? Why? Because it's Walmart.
Well, and I also gave Steve a heads up. The Kydex holster market is about to get a little shooken up because there is a plastic resin shortage, which means all of the plastic resins, ABS, Kydex, PVC, all of that stuff is in low supply.
Did they say what caused it? Like,
they told me it was because of the storms and the power outages in Texas back in, what was that, February?
That's weird.
Because all of the major resin makers are in Texas.
We never had this problem under Trump. Which is funny because I'm sure I've confused a lot of people because like when the episode I did by myself, I bagged on Donald Trump because
today's his birthday. You can't bag on him today. Today's his birthday.
Well, I'm relating what I did a couple of weeks ago.
You better take it back right now.
I think he was a great president, but he was terrible on guns.
Well, he could have been worse.
Yeah, I'd rather the enemy I know than the enemy I don't know.
Yeah, he could have been what we have now because let me tell you, they're a heck of a lot worse on guns.
They are, and they are hitting it hard. We talked about that obviously last week if you guys listened to last week's show. But if you have not done it yet, you need to get a hold of the White House switchboard on the comments. I think I might even have it pulled up here. Look. So the comment line is 1-202-456-1111. Get your ass on the phone. It takes 5 minutes. Right. There's a place actually.
Put your headphones in. Call them when you leave for work in the morning. By the time you get to work, you'll be done. You'll have done your duty as a gun owner.
Yeah. And if you would rather not talk to anybody on the phone, which I get and understand, which I think that's just a voicemail. Like I don't think you're actually talking to anybody. Maybe you are. But you can also email them. So Military Arms Channel, not to direct you to somebody else's cool content, but he did a really good video on it. It was one of his latest videos. And you guys need to get your act together. Like me included, Nick included, we all need to get our act together and put our foot down because it's asinine. Absolutely asinine. And I think I read something else. They just had another proposed gun bill today about mandatory licensing for all firearms owners, which is at the federal level.
That sounds like a list if I ever heard of one.
Yeah. Remember there's something about it's the government can't contain a list of firearms owners.
Yeah, I thought that was like a real law.
It is a real law. Just like the ATF can't go seize 4473s from a gun owner or an FFL just to have the list of buyers. But
I also thought that it was unconstitutional to ban something that was in normal circulation.
Under Heller, yeah. Under common use.
Yeah.
I know. I know, but
which
we think normally.
which I would argue that AR-15s are the most common rifle in the country.
20 million. There's got to be more than 20 million in private hands, but
I listened to something the other day that said that, what was it? There was more AR-15s owned in the country than, what was it? It was something. It was almost. I think they said registered voters or something.
I believe it.
There was like 3 times the amount of AR-15 sales in a certain year than there was registered voters.
That's beautiful. It's also kind of disappointing because some of those people need to get out and vote.
So at this point, they might as well just ban voting because it's not in common circulation.
It sounds like HR1.
Well, and I also read Rob from Boise Black Rifle posted that from his Spark store that Nevada is, I think it's past being proposed. It's on to something else about banning 80% lowers.
Yeah, I really see that coming down the pipeline. I think that's going to be the first thing that really passes, honestly, is 80% stuff.
Well, that one in Nevada, I want to say that it was pretty much passed and that they had till January to get rid of their 80% lowers.
Oh, that's messed up. That is messed up.
So,
what do you do? I know what you do. That's really where, I mean, we talked about it before. It really comes down to the state level. That's the only way we can, I mean, that's the last stronghold is the state level. Because the people in Washington, they don't give a crap about who we are. And that's obviously after I just said get on the phone and make a comment. Those do make a difference.
You still have to do your part in making the phone calls and sending the emails and writing the letter. You still have to do it even if they aren't going to listen.
I know they read them. I've written some of the state legislators, emailed them, and I got responses back. I know they're getting them. But just saying, oh, that'll never happen and not doing anything about it is the reason that we're here today in the predicament that we're in, is because we've been too lazy.
100%. So, well,
yeah.
Did you still want to talk about shooting in the heat?
Oh, we can talk about that for a minute. We talked about carrying in the heat already. So with it getting stupid hot in the next week, and what are you guys doing? How are you guys preparing to shoot outside? Obviously, it's way better to shoot inside where there's air conditioning and whatever, at a range inside, I should say. But sometimes you just want to get outside and shoot. So what are you guys doing to prepare for it? Obviously, there's the common sense things, right? You're going to take extra water, or, snacks, whatever. But are you taking the proper clothing? Are you wearing a hat? I mean, you don't want to end up like me. I probably got melanoma on the top of my head now. But it's hot outside. And I don't know what it's been over there on that side of the state. Today, it was almost 100 degrees, it felt like anyways.
It was 97 degrees today behind my shop. It was probably 120 in my parking lot.
Yeah. So, and if you go out to the desert, that's reflecting off the sand and the rocks and everything. It's pretty vicious.
So I look at any outdoor activities, be it shooting, golf, whatever I'm doing outside, hat, sunscreen. I wear long sleeve shirts. So thin long sleeve shirts if I'm going to be out in the sun. And it's not even that I'm concerned about skin cancer or any of that. Like, obviously I don't want it, but I just don't want the inconvenience of having a sunburn.
Yeah. And there's some nice material, like light colored, real thin fishing type shirts. If you could think of stuff that a lot of guys wear fishing, it's not bad. It's better than
I learned that a few years ago that a light long sleeve shirt in the sun, like I would rather you stay cooler than you do necessarily in a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
Because once your skin starts to burn, like you're hot.
Yep.
I mean, if this was on video, because we're going to start putting this stuff on YouTube, if you could see Steve's top of his head, it's not even his forehead.
And I know this light doesn't do justice, but it is for ride. And I was outside all day again today, and
Now I know why he doesn't have any hair.
Because it all burned off. I'm trying to regenerate it. I figured the sun would give it a chance to grow back.
So, yeah, water, 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 and water.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter for me. Whenever I go shooting outside, I take more water than think I need. Summertime,
Well,
wintertime, it doesn't matter. I always
the
take
kid,
more.
the kids at baseball laugh at me because I show up with my little soft Yeti shoulder cooler with ice and like 14 waters in it every night to baseball practice. And you know what? Every single day I'm giving those kids water because it's cold and it's like they run out or they leave their water out in the sun and it's hot as hell and they can't drink. I'm like, I learned this. It's cheap to buy a case of water for
Yep.
now until we have a water shortage and then we're all screwed.
Yeah, till big water takes control.
Yeah, I mean, fill your water bottles at home or go buy a couple cases of water that are $3 to $5 a case. I mean, I'm not a big like recycle Nazi, but I hate using all those bottles of water. But at least crush them up before you put the lid on, before you send them to the landfill.
Yeah, I've got two of the big, like a thermal flask, the big ones, the 40 ounces, and I go through two of those before the day's over, just because it's ridiculously hot. And at least with those, I don't have to carry the big fancy Yeti around with me. They usually keep it drinkably cool by the end of the day.
I do that. I grab a bag of ice and a case of water every couple of days. Well, I have like 40 cases of water at the shop, so I go buy a bag of ice in the afternoon, fill the cooler up, and then at 7:30 when we go to practice, it's still 80, 85 degrees out when we start practice. Like it's hot.
Yeah, and if you guys have never had heat stroke or at least the beginning signs of heat stroke, there's telltale signs, right? You stop sweating and maybe you start getting headaches. You better be drinking water by that time.
You feel dizzy. Your speech is a little bit slurred. You get kind of like feel a little bit like light, not necessarily lightheaded, but like the top of your body feels kind of light. And like I had a kid on the first night of practice that I could tell he was like not prepared for the heat, and I had to have him go sit down. And I gave him a bottle of ice cold water and had him just hold it on his neck and drink it. And it took him about 30 minutes to come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't want to guzzle. If you're getting to that point and you start guzzling water, that's not good either. You don't want to just down that water as fast as you can. Take it easy.
No, and it's funny because I was telling the head coach, I'm like, man, remember when we were kids and it was like, you don't get a water break, like man up. I'm like, we're like the exact opposite. We're like not soft on the kids, but we're like, look, go get water, hydrate, go get water before you come back from the cages. Drink your water. Like we're always telling them to drink water because then I can run them more.
Work them little buggers to death.
And even when I'm out on the range, like when I'm helping RSO stuff out on the range, I'm like, hey, go get a drink of water while you have a break. Like, and it's funny telling like adults, like, hey, run over and go get a drink. Like the coach in me like comes out. I'm like, run over and go get your water. There's water in my cooler right there by the truck. Like, drink water.
Well, and we get excited as shooters. Like sometimes we neglect to think about it. But it takes the coach, right? It takes somebody like, hey, pull your head out and rehydrate because you need it.
Yeah, that's why we're there. That's what you pay us for, is to tell you what to do. Like, oh, your mind is so focused on like sight picture, sight alignment, trigger squeeze. Like you're not thinking about when's the last time I had a drink of water and that it's 105 on the range.
Yeah.
So if you go to a class and the instructor doesn't have water there, man, I feel sorry for you because all these instructors in the summertime in Idaho should be packed around coolers full of full of water.
And the other thing is too, like setting your stuff out in the sun, right? Maybe the sun's out and you've got all your guns set out on the tailgate of the pickup. That shit gets hot.
That's what I said about the kids setting their water bottles up on the bench in the dugout. Well, it faces the sun. By the time they get over there, that water's so hot they don't even want to drink it. So then they sit there and they don't drink their water.
Yeah.
You can go to Walmart. You get the Ozark soft cooler. I keep one of those in that's what I had before I had this Yeti. I got this Yeti. I won it. So
Nice.
I have the Ozark soft cooler. It's got a zipper and a Velcro top, so you can just pull the top and reach into it. It doesn't hold. It'll hold ice for 4 or 5 hours, which is
It's plenty.
more than enough. But even then, everything inside of it for the whole day is still cold.
Yeah.
So even if you're not road tripping or going anywhere, keeping a cooler in your truck in the back seat of your car and having it available to just stop by the gas station and throw ice in it to keep water cold when you're out doing things is good. But if you're going out to the range, throw some ice in that, throw a couple bottles of water in there, maybe a Gatorade, and just make sure that it's cool because hot water is easier to digest. Like I get it,
but not
you
too
can still
hot.
drink. Yeah, not too hot, but at the same time, you need to cool yourself down if you're out in the heat, especially where the ranges are here. There's not any shade.
Yeah.
So that like the outdoor ranges here, there's very next to no shade.
Well, and even if you guys haven't shot at an outdoor range, if there's a pavilion or something that you're shooting under, you're getting that sun beating on the rocks or the concrete in front and behind. You're not escaping the heat. You might be escaping the sunlight. You can't escape the summer heat. That's one downside with Idaho is it's pretty, but in the summertime, you get in the high desert, it's hot and dry, and that just sucks the water out of you.
I made a statement to Steve before we started the show. The only type of range shooting I want to do for the next couple months is that Independence indoor shooting in the air conditioning.
Booyah. Where it's always like 70 degrees.
Yeah. Get your memberships because it's about to be full when the weather's 110 outside.
Yep, that's the way it is. Well, anyway, that's all I got. I don't really have anything else excited. Just make sure that you pay attention to Nick's little live thing coming up. What did you say, tomorrow?
Yeah, so today I kind of I've been talking to this person about doing some trays for him and kind of putting it on the back burner, and I've been doing a bunch of laser work on these trays, so I put together a little sample for him that I'm gonna put in my story tomorrow. So if you guys catch it, you'll know who's going to be on the show. Is he coming on Friday?
Friday, yep.
Friday.
So I was supposed to teach a class. That was the other thing I was going to talk about on the show. Is I had a class scheduled to teach Saturday, but that got booted for some reason. So I still kind of want to come over and hang out. I think it would be fun. Plus, it would get me away from work.
Well, you're always welcome over here. So
and then the three of us can sit down together during the show. It's always more fun being in person. Yeah. So
okay. Absolutely. Well, we're gonna cut this one about 10 minutes short.
It's all good.
And
Nick, where can we find you?
You can always find me on Instagram, Facebook, Hoftac Industries, and Hoftac.com.
And you can find the podcast anywhere that you're listening to podcasts. Make sure that while you're listening, give us a nice 5-star rating. Share it with your friends. Not that it gets us, we don't get any money off ratings, but it gives us.
I'll settle for a 4-star rating if you guys don't really want to give us 5.
Yeah, he's a whore. He'll take a 4-star. It's okay. but yeah, just because if you like our content, share it out. We want to get into many people's ears as possible. You can find the podcast on Facebook at Range Minded Podcast, as well as on Instagram under the same thing. You can email me at podcast@ishooting.com. If you want to check out my boring personal stuff on Instagram, it's under Impractical Tactical. I need to be pushing more stuff. It's just been hella busy at work the last few weeks, so it's been tough. But anyway, any last words, Nick?
Just wherever you subscribe to the podcast, to your podcasts, just hit that subscribe button so we show up in your little featured area so that you know what we have coming up. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to get better about how we label the titles, and we got some pretty cool guests coming up. So we've had some really cool guests. If you haven't, go back and kind of watch some of those episodes and listen to some of those guests. We're going to have some of them back on. Yep. And I have a list of probably 30 people that have agreed to come on the show that I haven't even talked to Steve about yet. So
and I had an idea tonight, but I want to make sure he's still in the position of another guest. I got to make sure he's still where he's at. Otherwise, it'll be a boring podcast. Anyway, thanks, guys.
All
Be
right.
safe. Take somebody shooting. Remember to stay hydrated in this heat. And just be good stewards of the Second Amendment. Don't be lazy. We appreciate you guys. Stay